Hi, this is DJ going over all the things that I worked on throughout this month. So first and foremost, I pretty much handled all of the level design aspects of the game. That is from the block outs to the asset implementation in each level, and the lighting as well. So the first level, of course, is here in the foyer. Originally, we had um, kind of a smaller area over here, and honestly, it came a long way, especially with the lighting. I'm really proud of what I was able to figure out with the lighting in the level here. Um, from the player perspective, you are just about up here, as well as like camera placement and stuff like that. I also had to handle those kind of things. So this is the first level when you first get into the game. Then, luckily, Luis was able to figure out the level streaming. So when the player loads in, it it just switches over, and we don't have to worry about loading and deloading levels as much. This is the kitchen level. Some things that I was possibly going to change going forward is flipping this table over and making it look a little bit more chaotic than it currently does. I also was in charge of the post processing volumes and things of that nature. I was able to get one of these lights to do this kind of flickering as well. So let's go over to the dining hall area. So this is the dining hall level. Kind of one of those fancy long dining tables, some chairs flipped over, a rug, a burnt out fireplace, and of course the target points for the enemies to get loaded in. And it's from this perspective. So instead of adding materials when they're not necessary, I chose to kind of more hide the elements that didn't need materials on them, because the camera would be loaded just like this, and which you'll be able to see in the final build. The last is the library here, which once again is from an angle such as this. So at first, when I first made this level, one of the issues I ran into is just the size of it and trying to figure out how to make it engaging for the player, which I think I was able to pretty much get pretty well done. And then, of course, I initially planned for a different view, but this one allowed a little bit more, it to be a little bit more dynamic and a little bit easier for the player to navigate from this corner kind of view. The stage is kind of like a basic stage where the player can, at the end of the game, walk up onto and get their head when you get to that point. And the last level is underneath. It's I have to find it. There we go. And this is just the shop. So this is kind of like an intermediary level that the player just kind of loads into just to quickly buy a couple items that they need to continue progressing throughout the game. So the next mechanic and like main part of the game that I worked on is the ghost mode, which is this massive material blueprint that when clicked, which I can show you in the player after this, it actually adjusts the post-processing volume to change the way the camera view looks and implement this kind of ghost world. The way that it's done is through this instance, actually, so that it's all instance editable and we can just change however we want it to look. It also highlights enemies as well as the character. So the character is this purple, or any interactable object is purple. The enemy color is red. And then it's just a material collection that is also called. So this is the flame light, kind of simple, and it's just a like a blueprint for a light that has a random floating range, and the light just kind of flickers between the two of those. For the main character, this is the going ghost, as I was mentioning. So when G is clicked, there's a flip flop that goes. It plays the 2D sound, goes in the timeline, and changes the scalar parameter of the collection NPC going ghost. which sends a message, ghost mode, which is for the door to the final boss, which is invisible when you first start the game. And you have to use ghost mode to see it. The other thing that I did work on as well is the dialogue boxes. So the way the dialogue boxes work, just very briefly, is when you go over the component, it gets the array of text, so it's instance editable. So any dialogue box we have, we can customize the dialogue that appears rather than having set different dialogues for each box. And you have to use your interact key to get rid of them, and it also takes away the ability for the player to move. Much like in a lot of games, the player can't really move around while they're listening to dialogue or anything like that. And when that is over, you are able to move again, and once it's at the limit of the array of dialogue, of course. Last but not least, the door. This is kind of what I was discussing with when you are ghost mode, you can see the final door. The final door is also instance editable in the door, so basically the one door is just clicked on, and that's how you can confirm that you're interacting with the right one. And this is setting the visibility of that door to visible. I also created the portal, but I just did the block mesh for the portal, or the item appearance for the portal. I did not put in all of this effort and work into the blueprints. I also created of course, the dialogue widget. I created the initial UI widget, and I created the start menu, or the main menu to the game. And to quickly just show a couple of those mechanics off. So one of them is walking into the dialogue box. So, hello Ichabod, why are you here? Your head is mine to keep. Fine. If you kill these schools and find me, you can have it. So just giving a little bit of narrative, a little bit of story to the game. This is the first level, of course, that I created, and I showed in editor a moment ago. And the door to the library, which would be the final door, is not visible. It is now visible. This is also the ghost mode that I was discussing. So I click G to make this appear. And then these colors are just representing the highlighting that we can do with this post-processing volume that I created. And it disappears when you click G again. And yeah, so those were all the things that I worked on throughout this month. Honestly, it was really, really interesting and really rewarding to work on. Of course, there are things that I wish I could do better or do differently, or maybe even continue improving if we continue working on it. A couple of those things that I would really like to, I guess, continue working on and improving would be the level layouts, level just really finalize the level designs, really nail down the lighting. I'm sure would be really useful, really rewarding for myself, and just completing the full game loop, I think, would be great. We are just about there. All of my mechanics are pretty much solidified in terms of the way that I want them to work. So yeah, that is what I have so far, or at least by the end of this month. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy it.